Joining us tonight to talk about that and more is Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx. State's Attorney, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
What would you say, I mean, we're reporting on this almost daily, but what would you say is the biggest impact for you and your department from this pandemic?
I think we have to remember that Cook County is the largest unified court system in the world. And so, we do both criminal cases and civil cases in our office. And the fact of the matter is that every day that the courthouse is shut down or slowed, you're literally talking about thousands of cases, defendants, victims, civil litigants who are waiting and having their day in court delayed.
So what happens with that gigantic backlog of cases?
Well, we are actively in the process of talking amongst the stakeholders, the chief judge, the public defender, myself, members of the private bar, the clerk's office, to talk about what a reopening plan would look like and what are some of the lessons learned that we've done over the last couple of weeks that we can take into reopening, particularly using Zoom and teleconferencing to conduct hearings.
You've been a big proponent of criminal justice reform. Do you think this could lead to it, or could it drag it down?
I think what we've seen, Micah, is that we've been able to safely reduce the jail population in the course of the last couple of months by almost 30%. I think we're somewhere around 27%. The jail population is the lowest that it's been in decades. And we were able to do that by working collaboratively to say who are the people that didn't need to be there. So it's my hope that as we move forward, that we only use pretrial detention for those who pose a threat to public safety, and that we use alternatives to detention like we've been doing over the last 9 weeks for those who don't pose a public safety threat.
So critics, though, would say that they've targeted hundreds of detainees that they would like to see released, and they say you, in return, have pushed back on that. How would you respond to that?
As state's attorney, I have an obligation to weigh both public health and public safety. And there are certain individuals who we object to because the nature of their offense, because we have victims who live and may be impacted in the same communities where some would go back to. But fundamentally, we believe that anyone who is in the jail should be in safe conditions. They are there having been accused of a crime, not found guilty. We have to make sure that the conditions at the jail don't put their health at risk. And at the same time, we have to advocate for those who we believe can be safely released back to the community.
Could we talk about the case of Nico Hines? He was let go when the COVID broke out because he had a lesser offense, but just last week he was arrested for a murder that he supposedly or allegedly committed while he was on parole. Could he be an example of someone you may have pushed back on?
I can't speak specifically to cases, but yes, one of the things that we have to do is look at not just the underlying offense for which the person is there, but do they have a background, a criminal history that would indicate that they pose an elevated risk. And so while not talking specifically to that case, because obviously it's pending litigation, those are some of the things that we absolutely must consider. Is someone a risk to the public?
You mentioned Zoom and some other things that we've all learned to work around things that we really never thought we'd have to deal with here. What are some changes that you think might come of this, especially on another issue that's been a hot topic like bail reform?
I think the technology piece is the biggest piece. It has long been the running joke that Cook County has been operating on carbon paper, and we are now zooming our way into the 21st century. And so I think, again, figuring out ways to necessitate when people need to come to court, some of our status hearings that don't need to have so many people involved. Again, looking at how we use our criminal justice system, bail reform, the cases that we in fact charge initially are all things that I'm optimistic that this crisis will lead us to be more innovative and thoughtful in our approach to criminal justice.
Yes, some public defenders are saying that their prisoners, their clients' rights are being violated because there's no due process. They're not getting their day in court. But what can you say to that?
I would say that this is a once-in-a-lifetime event. This is akin to a natural disaster. And so I think all of us in the criminal justice space have been trying our best, given a global pandemic, unlike anything we've seen in a century, to try to accommodate that, making sure, that the defendant's rights, constitutional rights, are not stomped upon. but at the same time, using the resources that we have to do the best that we can. And I'm actually quite proud of the work that we've done as stakeholders with the public defender and the chief judge to try to work on ways that we can protect defendants' rights while safely opening the courts.
Meantime, there's an election, right, coming up that most people have really not thought a whole lot about. How does this change your campaign moving forward?
You know, quite honestly, Joe, my focus has wholly and solely been on this COVID pandemic and making sure that our justice system is moving along, again, to protect the interest of the accused and to deliver justice for victims of crime, and managing the second largest prosecutor's office in the country remotely. And so my focus has been on the management of the office and not the politics that got me here.
Thank you so much. Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx, be safe, be well.
Thank you.
Thank you. You too.